I still gotta think of my unpopular opinion. I just can't think of one.
Wow. I guess I'll ask you on air. I don't want to like have all the good conversation before we start. But
I'm already done, man. I've got nothing left.
Nothing left.
Do you have your pen?
Planned.
Fuck you.
Oh,
Everything.
wow. Hasn't even started yet.
I know we're already
coming
in hot. Welcome everybody to another episode of Bottom of the Bill. We got returning guest Taylor Roberts today. Taylor Roberts is a guitarist based here in Jacksonville. He studied and played with greats such as Barry Green, Keith Javors, Bunky Green, Christian Tamber, and Charlie Hunter, but is probably best known at this point for his self-accompaniment skills on the 7-string guitar. His ability to uniquely reinterpret modern and classic pop songs with his highly skilled approach has landed him some of the top gigs in the Southeast. Taylor's in the process of recording a new studio album and has just released his second live album or first live album?
First live, second solo album.
Okay. Yeah. Live at Blue Jay, available now on all platforms. So check that out. That's a mouthful on that one.
Yeah, that was a lot. You didn't even put any comments or anything.
Yeah, I know. It looks a lot better than how I said it.
Gotta leave some room for breathing. I listened to your album today, front to back. I love it.
I love it, man.
Thank you, guys. Wow.
Yeah,
I can't remember the name of the Ella Fitzgerald song that was my favorite.
Oh, the ballad, the slow one.
Yeah, I love that one.
Someone to Watch Over Me.
Thank you.
That's a great song. Yeah.
That was the highlight of it for me.
Gershwin,
I love that one.
Man. Those composers have such a catalog, man. I mean, those songs are so timeless. You know, they just, even though they're 100 years old, they're still pretty relevant, you know, musically and lyrically.
Totally. So. The one that got me, I think, was the opener, the Wolfpack team.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
That was great, too.
Yeah.
I try to introduce as many people to Wolfpack as I can. They're like the funkiest hipsters in the world.
They are that, yeah. I have one gripe with the album, and it's just that you didn't play Leave the Door Open on it. I'm really kind of upset about it.
So it was recorded, to be fair, it was recorded in February of 2021, yes. And Leave the Door Open dropped in March. So, like, you know, for whatever reason, Bruno and Anderson didn't give me the heads up before they dropped the single. They
fuckers.
Yeah, I blocked both of their numbers since then. They keep calling me to go on the road with them, but I'm still pissed.
Still pissed about it. Yeah, I would be too.
Yeah. I just saw something about a Vegas residency.
Yeah, I just saw that today on Instagram that they're going to do a like Elvis Presley sort of deal in Las Vegas at the Stardust Motel.
Excuse me. I feel like they're both a bit too early in their careers to make that kind of a commitment right now.
They're going with like the whole 70s vibe and everything. You know what I mean? And,
I guess.
Trying to make it look that way. I would love to go to one of those shows.
I would definitely go to that show, yeah.
Oh,
100%.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing. Have you listened to the whole record?
I lost count of how many times, man.
Yeah.
So good.
I thought that once that single dropped, I was just like, just give them the Grammy now.
Yeah.
Like, you know. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's obviously a throwback to the '70s R&B stuff, and they've got their own modern twist on everything, which is what I love about Bruno. And I'm so glad that Anderson's like in the limelight, where he deserves to be. He's getting a lot more recognition.
Totally,
because I've
been
such a fan for so many years, man. He's just a brilliant, comprehensive musician.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I remember Chris actually gave me a link to the Tiny Desk concert that he did a few years back, and that's when I discovered him.
Yep, same.
Yeah.
That's what blew him up.
Yeah, and I was like, yo, this guy is awesome. And then I didn't realize how much influence like hip hop had in like his whole catalog, and he's just releasing like modern hip hop records.
Yep.
You know, and it was like it was so refreshing to hear that in the age of mumble rap. You know, it's like you hear rappers like that coming out. Not to mention how talented he is as a musician, but like as a rapper, he's equally as talented.
It's incredible, man. I mean, you hear him; he's everywhere now, and he's got that side of him. But then, like, you hear some of his other stuff, like off of Malibu, and like any of those cuts would fit in perfectly on like a '70s R&B, you know, outdoor summer party, you know, mixtape or whatever. You
Totally,
know? So.
Really smart branding and marketing across the board with those guys. I mean,
like who was coming up with that idea of like, this is what we're going to do?
That's like, yeah. I mean, I would have to imagine that a lot of that was Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak collaboratively.
Do you think it's just
had this thing.
some guy in Sweden's like, this is what we're doing?
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to get, you know, boys together to do it.
I would like to believe that it's not that.
You don't think so?
I don't know. Who knows, man? You never know at that level.
Just Atlantic Records put it together.
It
could be.
I mean, yeah, you never know, I guess. But I would hope that it's not. I would hope that it's their vision to an extent. But we may have talked about this a little bit last time, but you did 10 songs on this live album.
I did, yeah.
Did you do it all in one sitting, or did you kind of do like a couple nights and then choose your best performances?
So it was all from one night. There were, I think overall, it's somewhere between 15 and 18 songs throughout the evening. And, what I did was just try and whittle it down to my favorites out of the night. And it was tough, man. I mean, because part of my, like, maybe it's ego, maybe it's just purism, maybe it's, whatever, fill in the blank. But I didn't want to punch anything. I didn't want to, like, adjust anything in post. I wanted it to be as raw and pure as possible. So I had to cut, like, probably my favorite arrangement out of that night, because there was one flub that stuck out like a sore thumb, man. And it was my arrangement of The Sound of Silence. Oh. And so, and I mean, I've heard this about, like, young directors, young musicians. It's like something you're going to have to come to terms with is, like, you're probably going to have to get rid of your favorite scene. Yeah. You're probably going to have to cut your favorite song. You're probably going to have to, and you're going to have to, just, grow up and live with that, and, and just put it out there. And so it's like, you know what, all the more reason to keep putting out more stuff.
Yeah, totally, man, totally. It's got to be so nerve-wracking though when you're up there and you get one take on everything.
Yeah, it was kind of, I kind of threw it all together at the last minute without anybody's permission. It was like, well, it started out with a Facebook post. It was like, because it was just going to be a regular show at the Blue Jay, which, is, I mean, I've played a ton of places over the years, and the Blue Jay is still, to this day, my favorite venue to play at. It just happens to be right here in Jax Beach.
Yeah.
And I just got this wild hair. It's like, yeah, so anybody who plans on coming, just make sure, you cheer extra loud, and, you dress extra nice, because you're going to be on a video. You're going to be on my next album because it's going to be recorded video, like high def video. It's going to be my next album. And, so I threw the post up there, it got a bunch of attention. Then I text Kara. I was like, oh, by the way, do you mind if we do this? 'Cause, everybody's kind of expecting it now. And of course she was cool with it,
She's awesome
and it was the first time she had done anything like that. And I got the guys at NFS Records, Ryan Leroy and John Mike, to come work their magic. And, it couldn't have gone any smoother, man.
That's awesome, man. I mean, the quality was so good on it. I mean,
6K video cameras was crazy.
I haven't seen.
They had just gotten some new. If you just look on the YouTube page, if you search Taylor Roberts Live at the Blue Jay, there's the 10 tracks that made the album, and then a few extras on there too.
Okay, so that's awesome. That was actually one of my questions on here. Have you thought about doing like a video thing? But you did that already.
It's out there.
So that's awesome. I gotta find that. We should maybe try and put a clip of that in the
Look at
episode.
me more, because I'm not in charge of this anymore. The boys in the back. I said it right finally.
We'll ask him. We'll ask him afterwards.
Yeah, we actually shoot in NBA 2K on our podcast.
Shut the fuck up.
That's a good one.
NBA 2K. Are we talking PS3 or PS4?
PS3.
Three, yeah, because that was like
the 4.
Yeah, we host a podcast.
Hey, we're musicians.
Yeah. Oh man. So you said 18 songs total you played, or 15?
Something around that, yeah.
So, why? Like, what was it like having to make that choice on some of the songs? Like, was there some songs that were performed well, and you were just like, it doesn't matter, I have to like cut this out?
Part of it was diversity. That's a big thing for me. Is I want, obviously, like, fast songs, slow songs, stylistic, change things up as much as possible. But I also have to kind of like understand that, like, this day and age, people aren't really listening to like double albums anymore.
Right.
For better or worse, whatever. I mean, my last album, A Day in the Life, there were 15 tracks on there. It was pretty long, and even the guy who engineered the album and mixed and mastered, he was like, this is kind of a long album, you might want to. I was like, no, I want all these songs, And, whatever, it's out there. But, I figured it would maybe be a little bit more digestible while still having as much variety as I could provide, so there'd be a little something for everybody.
Totally. I love the set list, man. It's Thanks, like really just kind of captures every era, every genre, What's the preparation like going into this as far as your practice and stuff?
Well, shoot. I mean, as far as like really buckling down and practicing, like I'm gonna like totally tell on myself here because most of the practicing I do nowadays is really kind of more or less on the gig, on the steady gigs that I do because it's in a restaurant at a hotel. And it's not. I mean, I did the bulk of my real woodshedding, whatever you want to call it, when I was in school. And I was in the practice room 8 hours a day on a regular basis, and that's when a lot of the stuff was really in like that pressure cooker sort of environment where I was just like learning new shit every day and just like trying to digest as much as possible. And it's sort of like over the past 20 years, gradually marinated into whatever it is I do now. But yeah, I mean, I made a point to kind of come up with a set list and then focus on those songs and play those repeatedly on the gigs, almost, like the way comedians work out their sets on stage, like when they're on the road before they record, I mean, that's kind of what, not that I'm a comedian, just ask my girlfriend. But it was a good way to sort of get used to playing those songs and to try and play them as execute them as well as possible in front of a crowd, before the actual night happened.
Yeah, so. That's definitely, I think, the grind is very similar with comedians and musicians in that way because
very much.
You can't really practice comedy at home. I mean, you can in front of a mirror, but you need a crowd to see if it works or not.
Totally, and there's an aspect
to your songs too before you like record it, or like especially if you're gonna do a live album. I guess that's the comparison you're making.
Yeah, well, just in general, I think that like you can write songs for yourself and you can love the music. But you don't really know if it works until you get it in front of a crowd, and then the songs are constantly evolving. Whether it's an original piece or whether it's an arrangement of a song, there's like you're gonna be adjusting things based on how the crowd reacts to what you're doing. I think, and that's very much how I approach it. Anyways, So it's very similar grind in that way, and I'm kind of in the same boat. I do a lot of shedding on things that I don't know how to do. Yeah. But like, cause there's a lot, right?
Oh, it's always.
but as far as like tunes that I've like, gotten a basic understanding on, I'll just work out the rest of it on the gig, whether I have the lyrics 100% down or whether I have the progression 100% down, or if I know how I'm going to take a solo or when I'm going to take a solo, I figure all that stuff out on the gig,
And I think there's value to both types of practice. And I mean, there's things you can get out of practicing on the gig that you can't get out of practicing at home and vice versa.
Right. Totally. And there's an aspect of that pressure that's there too on the gig where, so if you don't nail this, then you look like an asshole.
Yeah. And you can't be like in front of a crowd, just be like, oh shit, let me start that over again.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, you can, but
yeah,
it's not gonna help your standing.
Yeah. You don't want to be that guy. And like and it's cool because like part of what's interesting about the bar gigs that I've been able to really utilize them in this capacity is to try things out that I don't know if I can really nail just yet.
It's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun taking those risks, man.
Yeah, because it's like a lot of the time like you're just wallpaper anyways, so it's like you can just take those risks and no one really notices. Mm-hmm. Or if you really nail it and that one person that does, you're just like, fuck yes.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I listen to a lot of the comedians' podcasts and just listen to their stories because it is such a similar grind,
Yeah, I mean, you gotta. I mean, part of the fun for me, and I think what sort of like attracts me, the whole like culture of playing jazz is like jumping off with both feet and taking those risks and just being like, let me get myself into this situation that I have no idea how to get out of and see if I'll survive it. And,
totally.
I like getting myself into those situations, especially in group, settings where I know, these guys will push me and like sometimes push me over the edge, but if they see me falling, they'll at least kind of like, okay.
Really in.
Yeah. So
it's cool to have that kind of, to have garnered that kind of respect amongst musicians at that level because we all know that they also have the capacity to not reel you back in.
Yes.
And if they don't respect you, they for sure won't.
Absolutely. Not that that's ever happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that definitely exists. Depending on where you go and how tight you are with the band, for sure.
Definitely. And yeah, that's definitely been my experience on more than one occasion. But it's also been the other way too, where, people realize you're not catching what's happening, and they just, they don't want to make the whole band look bad, because if one person train wrecks, then everyone train wrecks, So yeah, it's wild, man. I love that aspect of it, though.
I've always wanted to see a band do that to somebody they're pissed off, is everybody just stop at the exact same time, but the other person that they don't like on stage just keeps going, and they'd be like, "Oh, what are you doing, bud? Let's hear it. Let's see what you got."
Yeah. When I was playing with Rock and Jake, when I first joined the band, I was not good, and he would put me in these scenarios where I had to take like very long solos, and then I would be like done in my head, and he just like looks at me, he's like, "Yeah, just keep it going, keep it going." I'm just like, "Bro, I'm done.
Played all my licks, man. I'm out of ideas.
I'm done, bro." That's never a fun feeling either. Oh man. What's this new project that you're working on right now?
So this is a quintet. This is kind of like a reunion of sorts, like all my big brothers. Like I got Billy Thornton, who's one of my best friends. He's been like my musical big brother for the past 20 years. He's on bass. He lived in Jacksonville for years. Now he's up in Atlanta. Kevin Bales, who was a mentor of mine, he was a professor at UNF for years. He's up in Atlanta as well. He plays piano. Just one of the most brilliant musicians in the world. I mean, all these guys, I can definitely vouch for and say they could go toe to toe with anybody, anywhere. I mean, there's some of the best musicians in the world, and some of my best friends. Peter Miles is playing drums, and Juan Roland is playing tenor sax.
Hell yeah!
And I had this idea kind of bouncing around in my head for a number of years, but just never really had the financial wherewithal and organizational skills, I guess you can say, to kind of get everybody on the same page together at this place on the same day, and really have the time, energy, vision to get it all set up, and we finally were able to make it happen. And I just wanted to go in with kind of like a blank canvas. It's very much a straight ahead jazz album. It's standards, it's tunes. One tune is by Ellis Marsalis, another one's an old Cole Porter tune. We do The Nearness of You. That's the ballad on there. That's one of my favorites, and it's tunes that we all know and that we've all played together, in various configurations over the past couple of decades. And because of that camaraderie, and because we've all played with each other and logged so many hours together, I knew that we could just go in and just organically create like something really magical. And I feel like that's absolutely what we did.
That's awesome.
I wanted to go in. I didn't have really any agenda. I just wanted to hit record and just let's see what happens. They were mostly first takes. We were all happy with everything, man.
That's amazing, man.
So
what talk about capturing lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
A first take type shit. That's it. Even, and sometimes it's like even the first take might not be the best performance, but it's the one that just feels right.
It's the most honest.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what we captured, I feel like. And it's funny because what worked out was it was Stefan Klein is actually on the first couple tracks. He's playing drums,
Nice.
and he was scheduled for the initial session, which was in August of 2021. We got 2 really great takes, and we were about halfway through the third take, and the console decided to shit the bed. Had 2 guys down from Atlanta, 2 other guys. I think they had to turn down gigs just to do the session.
Oh my God.
We were fine. I feel bad for the studio because they were just because everybody was looking forward to this, and obviously, that's NFS is such a high demand place. We felt worse for them than anybody else. We just went and got food, and we're just like, fuck it, we'll figure it out, And then we finally rescheduled. Steph wasn't able to do it, so I got Pete, and we were able to knock out the rest of the tracks.
So I want to kind of pull it back a little bit and talk about the organization stuff and the things that were preventing you from doing this earlier on. Can you kind of dive into what that means?
Sure. Being primarily a solo artist, I mean, there's pros and cons to it. Somebody with, I guess, a personality like mine. I don't, and that comes with a lot of baggage. I'll just say that much. I mean, I have enough trouble managing myself.
Yeah, sure.
You know, as a solo musician, I think most people who perform solo can probably identify with that. You know, to a degree, but you know, just the obsession and the overanalysis and the, you know, eventual paralysis and sometimes just giving up and just saying like, fuck it, I'm just not even gonna do it. And then finally just going with it. I mean, I kind of wrestled with it back and forth for a number of years and toyed with the idea until finally I was like, you know what, screw this, I'm just gonna make this happen. You know, I was able to, you know, kind of get my money right and get the guys on board and, you know, that everything just kind of lined up, you know. I mean, it was more a sense of like allowing everything to line up rather than just forcing it all to line up.
Totally. And sometimes you got to kind of take your hand off the wheel a little bit, you know.
That's really what it was.
It's interesting. That paralysis is real. I mean, I think that people in just about any profession can relate to that, where you just get so overwhelmed by the responsibility that comes with doing a certain task that you just shut down and you say, well, fuck this. And what separates the people that ultimately become very successful is overcoming that and say, like, everybody gets that paralysis, right?
Yeah.
It's a matter of saying, like, this is actually not paralyzing me, though. This is like my own bullshit that's keeping me down right now.
The old committee, man. The what do they call it? The it'll come to me later.
The old committee. I like that term, though.
Yeah. Oh, what is the imposter syndrome?
The imposter syndrome. Oh my God, man! If I could tell you how often I have like the fraud complex or the imposter syndrome going on, it is unreal. You know, sometimes you feel that way. Like, at least I'll speak to myself because we don't live in a city that's predominantly like a music town or an entertainment. The entertainment industry is not like a part of our local economy. Essentially,
Jacksonville isn't known for that as much as like New Orleans.
Totally,
you know?
totally,
or Chicago or LA for that matter.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's like just existing in that kind of an ecosystem, and then trying to operate in the capacity that the artist in those cities do operate. You feel like you don't really have the same seat at the table. You know what I mean? At least that's my position sometimes.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But it's funny because I mean the talent level in the city, I don't need to tell you guys, is just off the charts.
It's insane, man. Yeah.
But the way it can sometimes come at me is like, you know, in a crowded, noisy restaurant at a 5 Diamond hotel, I'll be like, oh man, everybody knows that I should have played a half whole diminished scale instead of a whole half diminished scale. That half of a bar there, and they all know I'm full of shit now. You know, it's like, which is clearly insane, but you know, it's very real to me in the moment, and I'm just like, and then it just like ruins the rest of the song for me. But it's like, you know, I have to understand that it's just like, you know, most of what goes through my head is bullshit, and I kind of have to like watch it as like, this is just for entertainment purposes only. I got to just kind of focus on whatever it is my hands are doing and just kind of like act as a spectator rather than a participator, if that makes any sense.
For sure, yeah, 100%, man. It's taking the hand off the wheel sometimes, just letting you do what you do. I think that you know, when you've trained yourself to do something for so long, sometimes the only thing getting in your way is like your brain, like your
100%.
thoughts. You know, it's like, hey, we've trained for this, man. You can just let it go now.
Yep.
We're good. You know?
Exactly.
All right, so I want to do. We have a new segment called.
Before we do that, what's the name of the project? Or do you have a name for it?
Right now, it's I spent a long time thinking up the name for this. It's the Taylor Roberts Quintet project.
Okay, all right.
So,
I was about to say,
lots of sleepless nights.
I've got a laundry list of band names just ready to go if you're looking
Please
for one.
send me that.
A lot of them probably don't make any sense for a jazz quintet.
No, and actually for this
that,
project, shameless plug here, I am doing an Indiegogo campaign, which is live right now. It's going to be live for another, I think 50 some odd days, which, you know, the link is up on my website, which I think we'll probably plug the links at the end of the...
Oh, hell, you can plug them right now if you want.
tr7guitar.com. And yeah, it should be on the splash page here in the next couple days. So
Hell yeah. We're gonna. I definitely want to stay on this new project for a little bit. I want to go to our new segment first, though, which is called Bottom of the Billboard. So I think I filled you in a little bit earlier today. For those who don't know, each week, one of us, either Billy or I, recommend a song for the other one to listen to, review, and then at the end, we all come to an agreement or a disagreement on whether or not it makes our playlist on Spotify called the bottom of the Billboard playlist. So for the artists that get on there, I know it sounds really underwhelming, but it's quite the honor. So,
yeah, absolutely.
so follow that playlist, and also our bottom of the bill playlist, which just features all the artists we've had on the show. So you're on there too. I think you might have a couple of tunes on there.
Sweet.
So yeah. Anyways, this week we do.
I want to know what you think the title of it is first. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So Billy recommended "Cause Equals Time."
Yep.
By Broken Social Scene. What did you think I was going to say the title?
I don't know. Like, is this like the equal sign? I don't think if you're going to say cause equals sign time. I don't know. Maybe you thought you were going to. I don't know.
That dense.
Well, I didn't know. I thought you were just going to be literal. I don't think you're dense.
Oh, okay.
And I sent this to him last night at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and I didn't think twice about all the jazz that was going to be talked about.
Yeah.
So there's no way this is getting on.
I think I got all that out of me.
No, let's just say
That's
sorry.
honestly the most I've talked about jazz in a really long time. And,
I just don't know anything.
for
about
anybody
it.
still listening, congratulations. I think we're done with all that misery at this point.
Oh no,
No,
we're
not at
diving
all.
back into that deep end. Trust me.
I just feel like a fish out of water completely with all the name drops. I'm just like, oh, cool. I bet he plays jazz, and that guy probably plays jazz too.
I make hundreds of dollars a year playing jazz. It's great.
Whoa. But anyways, yeah. Do you know the Broken Social Scene?
Yeah.
Broken Social. You do?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Do you know who they are?
Not until today. Not until
They're, did you listen to the song?
I did,
Too? Oh,
yeah.
okay, cool. It's a indie rock band from Toronto, Canada, back in the early 2000s. I'd say they're still around now. Actually, it was amazing. They broke up and then they got back together and then they played the Ponte Vedra concert hall.
Yeah, so we went a few
It's the
years
best
ago,
day
right?
of my life, seriously. But anyways, that came out, or at least I discovered them when I was maybe 9th or 10th grade in high school, and I loved them. They're probably my favorite indie rock band of that era. They're the original, but that song is my favorite only because of that stupid guitar riff. I know it's not difficult at all, but every time it comes on, I'm just like, yes, every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing about I can't think of his last name. His first name is Kevin. He writes all the music, and then he hires his friends to play with them, and he's just really into producing his own music. But he has gone on record in many interviews saying that the lyrics that he writes are supposed to be abstract, and it's just supposed to make you feel some way. They don't mean anything. So now I'm gonna hand it off to you. You're already smiling about it. I'm just waiting for it to get destroyed.
I just
I can just feel it because I love this song and I love this band so much. So I'm just waiting. I'm just feeling like I'm getting fed to the sharks already.
No.
Just going to town about awesome jazz players. I'm like, I'm an indie rock band from Canada. It's pretty good.
No, I think it's hilarious. Your level of anticipation is just what's cracking me up.
Well, I can't do jazz. I don't know what to tell you, boys.
I'm curious. Well, that's again your own barrier, right? We just talked about that.
Oh, that's true.
I'm curious as to your take on the song before I go into mine.
So, first, I have a couple questions. When did the song come out?
I want to say that was off their first album or second album. I think that was 2001.
Okay.
Boys, if you can look it up real quick, that'd be great. 2001, 2003.
So, my understanding is, are we supposed to determine would this, make the Billboard?
Well, yeah, we come to that determination after we do our reviews.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
it's more just at the moment, what do you think of the tune?
I don't get to vote on it because I already love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so obviously you're going to want to put it on
of course.
there.
It's raw and it's very real, and people are playing real instruments, which I love, man. I mean, you call me crazy, but it didn't really punch me in the soul. I got to be honest.
Well,
man. But to what you said, I mean, amazing and moving doesn't always have to be difficult and complex.
Exactly. That's all my music.
It rarely ever is and
totally.
despite all my sort of jazz tendencies, so
That's that's kind of a good band name for
Jazz
your project,
Tendencies.
Jazz Tendencies.
recovering jazz major. We have meetings and everything.
All right, Tony, what you got?
So I'm going to also preface this by saying that, let me have a drink first. I'm going to preface this by saying that I agree with both of you guys that something that for sure doesn't have to be complex or difficult to play physically to be captivating or to, inspire some kind of emotion. I don't know why you think that that's my position on music.
That's all your music that you like.
Fuck, Anton.
Yeah.
Why you got to be so flashy all the time?
Because these rivers run deep, bro.
I'm a real emotional guy, and that's why I like emotional style music. That's how it makes you feel.
I literally grew up on blues, bro. It doesn't get more emotional than that, which you say is soulless music, which is weird.
How did I say that? Why would I ever say that?
He literally told me Derek Trucks and Stevie Ray Vaughan sound exactly the same. He can't tell the difference.
Let's unpack
That was
this,
a
guys.
joke, you dumbo.
This is no longer about me, everybody. Let's hear.
Yeah, we have a lot of things going on here. Here's what I will say though.
joke.
I can't stand the song.
Wow.
Absolutely hated listening
Well,
to it.
if you don't like that song, then you're gonna hate everything else they made because it sounds. Why didn't you like it?
All right, so we can dive in a little bit. It has nothing to do with the complexity of the music as much as just it's so repetitive and boring.
But Jimmy Cliff, that gotcha.
It's a great song.
Oh my God.
Harder They Come. It's a great song. It does like his voice doesn't like take you anywhere. It's just so like monotone and droning.
Yeah, he's not a very good singer, no.
Which is okay. Like you don't have to.
He's just not. It's just straight up. He's not. He's not the best. I'm just saying.
back there, baby?
He's just not the best singer, no.
Billy's got the production crew cracking up over
But
here.
it's
And
raw.
Kayla
It's
as well.
it's indie rock, dude. It's not supposed to be about that.
It's fine. I thought the performances were. You put it very nicely. Raw.
Yeah, they're in
Right.
in a basement. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. That's basement rock.
And I don't know, like it's just the entire song just sounded droning to me. Like didn't go anywhere.
What do you feel about that guitar solo part?
It's fine. Like it didn't do
Is
anything
it hard
for me.
on guitar?
It doesn't really matter whether or not.
I'm
It's hard on
just
guitar.
curious if it's not.
I mean, it's not a difficult guitar part to play.
So it's not.
No.
Do you think if it was more difficult, you'd like it?
No.
And that's what I'm trying to get at here.
I know what you're trying to
that's
get
right,
at.
New camera. That's what I'm trying to get at. He only likes music that's
this is why I
difficult,
come
and
here.
that's it. He'll say that, it's really, really simple and everything like that, and that's why you like it, but nah.
I literally
It's
just told
not.
you one of my favorite songs of all time was "The Harder They Come," which is like the simplest song to play.
I'll say that.
Yeah.
That song was, oof. Man.
That's a great song. You just don't like. He doesn't like reggae music either.
It's not true.
I'm saying. So yeah, my vote is that it for sure doesn't get on the playlist.
Damn.
It's also like it sounds almost like the other song that you recommended.
Which one?
2 weeks ago.
What was that?
The what's his?
Say anything?
Yeah, but like a much more
What?
annoying and raw version of that. Because that song, the Say Anything song was
That's like
a
emo.
great performance.
Yeah, that's like emo music.
great performance.
Pop,
very well
pop punk,
produced.
yeah.
Very well produced, and I enjoyed that experience. The songs went somewhere.
Yeah.
But this one was like the same genre of music, but just like they didn't quite get that good at it.
Lo-fi, shoegaze, and indie rock. Not into it.
Not into it at all.
Let me
Right.
add some padding there. I think it probably would have made top 100 songs to come out of Seattle in 1992.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I get what you're trying to
That
say.
is true, yeah.
It's not grunge though.
It's
but-
kind of grungy.
Eh.
It's like it sounds like post grunge. It's like grunge 10 years after it was grunge.
All right.
4
1994, yeah.
All right.
You know,
November
who's got,
1994.
you know who's got a similar vibe to that sounds much better though is Silver Sun Pickups. You know them?
I like that one song that they have. The Lazy Eye, whatever it's called. Is that them, right?
I don't know that. I don't know
can't
the song by
remember.
name. Do you know those guys?
No.
They're kind of in that vein, but they sound much better.
I saw them too.
So, anyways, yeah, my vote is that it doesn't make the cut. Billy would like it to be on there. Of
course.
Taylor, we're at a draw here. What do you think, bud?
A little closer to Anton's side of the aisle than
Of course
Billy's.
you are.
Sweet. There we go. So,
I don't think anybody in this room would have voted for that song. But I wanted to put it out there.
so you can let people know that your taste in music sucks.
No, my taste in music is cool.
Oh, it's cool. Okay.
It's fucking cool music.
All right. Anyways.
It is. Straight up. It's the coolest fucking shit ever, but whatever.
Okay. So back to the fun stuff. So I want to dive back into the deep end on this jazz project that you're working on because you released a promo video for it. And I'm curious, are you doing like a full documentary, like documenting the process, or is it just like a promotional video that you did?
That was just a promo to kind of hook people. Again, John Mike did all the cinematography, took all the footage while we were in the studio, and then came to my place, got all the lighting all pretty and everything, and asked me a few questions. But that was just to kind of hook people and get people's attention. And the idea, kind of in addition to this, is that I've done my best to sort of like stray as far away from being pegged as a jazz player as I can, because like I don't know why, man. I just don't like it. We were talking about like latent PTSD from being a jazz major, in a conservatory atmosphere, just because it can be traumatizing depending on your experiences there, which maybe we can go into the next time I come back, but because there's not enough time. But yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I think just over the years and as I get older, I think the less and less I really care about how people categorize what I play is like, what I play is, I like music that I like, and if people want to peg me as a jazz musician, then fuck it, let me make a jazz record, I'll be a jazz musician for you guys. And so let me play all my bebop licks that I practiced in all keys for 8 hours a day when I was 19 years old,
The honesty comes out now.
So I don't know, man. But again, I mean, what I play the majority, I really like on my steady gig at the Ritz, like I'll only play a standard if somebody asks for it. You know? And I mean, I would love to do that, voluntarily, but I've gotten so used to playing, everything from I don't know, Motown to Bruno Mars to, so stuff that people recognize and fits in the other 99% of what sells in today's musical.
Yeah, that TLC cover was awesome.
That's great.
Oh, thanks.
I was like, do.
That one,
no, he's not. He's gonna play the whole thing, and he did. It was awesome, man.
Oh yeah,
that one at least causes, gives pause when people are eating their filet mignons.
Do I know that song?
Yeah.
So,
Also, Bohemian Rhapsody. Come on.
yeah.
Of course, yeah.
I know we talked about that last time you were on here, but
Yeah.
come on, it's so good.
I was waiting the whole time listening to that day. I was like, they're gonna start singing. They're gonna start singing.
They did, and I mean it's a listening room environment, and I was
Yeah.
kind of struggling with like, should I encourage this because this is going to be on the fuck it, yeah, why not?
It's your fucking show, bro.
it's
You
cool.
run it.
Yeah,
You tell them what you want to happen.
yeah, and they sounded fine. They sang a lot better than I could have, so it's fine with me.
So it seems like that's what I was going to say. Sorry, I had a bit of a brain fart for a second. But I was listening to this interview one time with Larry Carlton, and one of my all-time favorites.
He's good. He's good at the guitar.
There really isn't a word in the English language that properly describes his level of mastery. You know what I mean? But I was listening to an interview with him, and it's funny, man. Like, from someone who doesn't come from the jazz world, you listen to somebody like that, and you're like, okay, well, he's obviously has a background in jazz, and then you listen to him who has that background, but he's like, this guy interviewed him, and he was saying, so are you going to do like a bebop record? Because you have like these smooth jazz kind of things, and you have like these bluesy stuff, bluesy things. Or you do like a bebop record? And Larry Carlton's response was, well, you have to really live in that world if you want to maintain that kind of if you want to be able to maintain that sustainability with that style, So, and I thought that was an interesting response, because in my mind, I'm like, well, of course you could play bebop, like you're Larry Carlton, But then the more you listen to his stuff, you're like, okay, well, I see what you're saying. Like, it's not the world that you live in anymore. I find it curious because you just gave a similar response where it's like, I've been doing this thing because this is where kind of I live right now. And if you want to do the jazz thing, and so you kind of have to live in that world. And do you not identify as a jazz musician anymore?
So, I think the jazz accent is kind of inescapable, and I mean, when people see me playing this guitar, it looks like jazz, And so, I mean, there's that. And I think a lot of the time, whenever anybody hears a clean tone coming from a guitar, especially with the stuff that I play, even if I'm just playing bar chords or open voicings, in any of my arrangements, it probably still comes across as like sort of having a jazz type of sound to it. That being said, ever since the jazz jam started at the Blue Jay, and all these jams are happening around town. I mean, when I get off work at the Ritz, I most nights, most chances that I get, I go and get to hang out with all my fellow jazz nerds and just get back in touch with that again and relive those years. And that's really, for better or worse, despite my identity crisis with that whole thing, like that's really where my heart is with that music. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, how important is it to you to maintain that relationship with the style?
I think it's becoming less and less important and more unavoidable, if that makes any sense. It's really just kind of a part of me, because I spent so many years and so many hours just implementing that into my ears and into my style, that it's it would take a lot to completely uproot that from what I do.
Totally, man. I'm going through a similar crisis as well, because I work pretty hard on trying to incorporate a lot of the jazz stuff into my playing, but it's not the world that I come from.
Right.
So what I find, like when I pick up my guitar, not to practice, but like when I'm just picking it up to like kind of mess around and noodle a little bit, that's not what comes out. But what comes out is like the blues stuff, and I'm like thinking about like how am I getting this inflection on this note? Like where am I starting? Am I starting up here and bending it back down, or am I going to start down here and bend it up? Like like do I do it over the course of like over the time of like a quarter note or a dotted quarter note, or how am I feeling this? Is it a triplet feel? And that's where I find myself going. And for so long, I was like reluctant, because you have like this stigma in your head about blues musicians where it's just like all they care about is playing the blues. And you're like, there's a whole world out there,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I'm getting to a point now where it's kind of like I'm accepting that genre, because it is very it's an authentic style that needs to be done justice when in its authenticity, I think,
Absolutely.
And it's not so easy to cop,
No.
So I don't know. To me, it's like it's just a part. It's become part of my voice, and as much as I want to incorporate the other stuff, I can do that. But I'm never going to lose that voice, that accent. I like the word you use, that accent.
And nor should you, because that's a pretty damn good accent to have, man. If you ask me,
I would say so, man. I mean, I don't think that you can get through any style of music in Western music, anyways, without
That's
having
exactly what I was thinking.
that. So
Jazz,
yeah, man.
especially, man.
Totally, totally, man, totally. I mean, so my favorite jazz guitarists or musicians in general all have that inflection. Wes Montgomery, Grant Green.
Wes is always going to be my favorite.
I mean, like nobody can cop that phrasing, man. He's like the best.
No,
it's like it's insane. I tried to learn was midnight
around midnight.
Yeah, man.
That's the one.
I got like 1 or 2 bars in, and I was like, this isn't happening. Man. I don't know how you feel time like that, but I can't do that.
He didn't even start playing guitar till he was in his 20s.
I know. He worked at a factory, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And he plays like this.
He had a crazy double jointed thumb, man. And the reason he never used a pick is because, and the reason he titled the song Full House is because he was a grandfather by the time he was in his 40s. He didn't want to wake anybody up in his house, so he practiced real quiet with his
my
thumb.
God.
And lots of stories I've heard over the years. Some of which are actually true.
Yeah, but, some of which.
Never let the truth get in the way of a good story, right?
That's very true, especially in show business.
Exactly.
He also only uses 3 fingers.
These 3 mainly. Yep. Yeah, I think there have been some people who busted him using his pinky every once in a while, but
rare sighting of Wes using a pinky.
You know.
It's wild, man. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. You can't really escape the blues, man. You can't. Mm-hmm. It's what gives music feeling to me.
I agree completely.
Man, I had another question. I just completely lost it.
How do you feel about Vince Guaraldi?
I love him.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, he's a part of everybody's childhood. Peanuts.
Yeah. Oh, okay, there you go.
Christmas Time is here. Linus and Lucy. That's
That's my river.
Mm-hmm.
That's your river?
That's that fucking creek I'm living in. That's as far as I go with jazz. Actually, I really like Dave Brubeck a lot.
Yeah.
That Take 5 album, I think I listened to that a lot.
Well, speaking of the blues, man, I mean, when Duke Ellington first heard Dave Brubeck, all he heard was a recording of him. Mm-hmm. Didn't know if he was a black guy or a white guy, but he said, and this was back. I mean, obviously, race was a really hot button issue, and it just always is in music. But back then, especially, before the civil rights movement and everything. I mean, what Duke said when he heard Brubeck's playing, he said that man plays it where the blues is born. And I mean,
that's amazing.
If that isn't an endorsement coming from Duke Ellington, man,
totally, man. Totally,
so,
man.
And yeah, I mean, Brubeck had that crazy swimming accident, which forced him to change his technique into playing those block chords.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
He was young. I think it was when he was in the army or something.
So that's why he plays that way?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! No kidding.
I didn't know that.
You got to break your hands to play that way.
He didn't write Take 5 either.
No, Paul
Desmond did.
I'm sure. Just that album. Or whatever.
Yeah. No, Time Out was. That would probably be in my top 3 of all. For introducing people to jazz, it would be A Love Supreme, Kind of Blue, and Time Out. Those would probably be my top 3.
Those are literally the three that I got introduced to when I first started listening to jazz.
I've heard
so
one of them. So
Love Supreme's good. I don't think you're gonna like it too much.
Why is that?
Coltrane takes it some weird places, and you don't like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well.
That's the stuff. It's like Coltrane's got a similar thing. I love Coltrane, but he's got a similar thing with that Mingus has too, where like they get like very out there to the point where it's almost like if you're not like for someone like I can listen to Mingus for like maybe like 1 or 2 tunes, and I'm like I'm done. It gets a little exhausting for me.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Man. Well, to go back to Coltrane, man, I mean, the first time I heard of Love Supreme, I didn't stop listening to that album for the following 2 or 3 weeks. That was religious for me. That was like, that changed me. And I was 17 years old and smoking a lot of weed, and, so, it was just, it lived in my ears. But Mingus, I got to say, I have not listened to as much Mingus as most like jazz musicians and jazz heads have, but I've probably listened to more of the Mingus big band than his original recordings. Don't shoot me, all you 2 or 3 jazz fans out there.
I'll take the bullet
right now.
I can't stand the shit.
But no, if you listen to the Mingus big band, their version of a song called "Moanin',"
yeah,
opens
it's
up
amazing.
with the Barry sax.
Yeah.
Man, that's just like. Just kicks you right in the gut, man. It's just like that's what a Barry sax should sound like to me.
Yeah, man. I mean, I would definitely agree that the interpretations of his songs are better than the.
Well, I'll say, man, when they actually came to UNF in 2008, obviously long after Mingus passed, but it's almost like I don't know, man. I don't want to say I don't know if Duke Ellington I don't want to say Duke Ellington on drugs because that's disrespectful, but Duke Ellington were more abstract, and more playful.
Yeah.
And more mischievous.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know what I mean? People just shouting and screaming and just but I mean, and also all the politically charged stuff that's behind this music too, man, was just so powerful and revolutionary at the time. A lot of people hadn't really heard stuff like that before.
Totally.
And Mingus gave 0 fucks. He would punch out his bandmates on stage for playing the wrong chord.
I know, man. So. You hear him on the recordings too. He'll be yelling at people.
Oh, I thought you could hear him punching.
No. I mean, I wouldn't doubt. What? I wouldn't doubt that there's a recording out there of him knocking someone out. But you hear him in the sessions.
That's fucking jazz right there.
Yeah.
That's some deep cuts, man.
It is.
What was his deal?
He's just he's just an artist, man. He's just a fucking wild artist. It's just that level of talent and that level of you're tapping into something that most people can't deal with, including yourself. That's why you act like that.
Sounds crazy, man.
Not all genius is containable.
Totally, man. Totally. I really love the album that Jocko did with Joni Mitchell and Pat Metheny.
Shadows and Light.
Yes, that's what turned me on to Mingus. And then I bought a Mingus record after that and was like, I'm gonna go back to Shadows and Light because this is much more palatable
Palatable,
for me.
yeah.
You know, but that album also really turned me on to Pat Metheny because for me, Pat Metheny was one of those really heady players.
Yeah.
And I always kind of equated him, no offense to anybody who likes Pat Martino. I like Pat Martino too, but like I always equated him to that kind of a jazz player that's just very, you know, we're playing the changes and we're going to step out, but we're hitting the changes.
Yeah.
And it's all just 16th note runs and doing the thing, and it's impressive, but doesn't quite hit me. I listened to that record and I was like, Pat Metheny changed my whole idea of what comping meant, you know? And then I started digging in and I discovered like a bunch of a lot of other Pat Metheny stuff. And I was like, holy fuck, this guy's got an incredible voice. I mean, on the guitar, he's got an incredible voice, you know? He's phrasing another guy.
Rare genius
of
music, just overall, man. I mean, and I would equate the breadth of his work to like the Beatles. I mean, you know, you could introduce somebody to the Beatles with Yesterday, or you could introduce somebody to the Beatles with A Day in the Life or Strawberry Fields, and it'd be two totally different types of music.
That's so true, man.
And like with Metheny, you could introduce him to Bright Side's Life, or you could introduce him to Still Life Talking.
Right.
With the you know, it's like world music with like wordless vocals in the background and like all sorts of crazy percussion and just beautiful, man. Beautiful shit.
You know who's doing a really good job of that now is
Carlos Santana.
You keep throwing out the references you get there, bud. Keep trying to hang on to this conversation for dear life. I get it.
I'm trying. I'm just nodding when I'm assimilating to what you're doing. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No. But his older stuff, though. That's what I should be saying. But his older stuff's.
Yeah.
So here's a name you might recognize is Snarky Puppy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's
They're
a big
really
debate
good.
about Snarky Puppy also in the jazz world because it's like,
They're not really jazz.
well, not that they're not jazz, but it's like the idea that because they got some pop awareness, right? And they won Grammys and stuff like that. And I think a lot of more traditional fusion people are like, well, you know, they're not doing anything groundbreaking. You can just listen to, God damn it, man. I'm
Charlie Brown
Joe
Christmas.
Zawinul and Jocko and Weather
sorry,
Report. Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah, the Weather Report.
Yeah, so,
No, I know them.
yeah. So,
Jocko.
That's one.
that's what
Count them.
that's what a lot of like the more traditional fusion guys would say. It's like, well, they're not doing anything groundbreaking. I don't get why they're getting all this notoriety. You just listen to Weather Report, and it's like, yeah, you could, but you can also listen to Snarky Puppy.
You know, shut the fuck up, man. Enjoy your little $30, gig playing the
exactly.
reharmonized all the things you are for your other, for
your
guys
three
studying
jazz
their
friends
master's
to come out.
degrees in jazz,
Yeah, man, it's wild to me. But talking about like the
go ahead, please. I want to try and be as positive as I can. I love Snarky Puppy, man. I absolutely love them. And
they're amazing.
I mean, when that version of something with Layla dropped, Layla Hathaway, man, and she sings
Oh my God.
multiphonics, and the whole band just loses their mind. It's just like,
Unreal, yeah, bro.
And she'll tell. I mean, every time that comes on, I just I lose my mind every time. I've listened to it a dozen times, man, and every time I can't sit still, man.
Well, because it's such a feat of like almost like superhuman ability that you can't believe that that's what you're hearing in the moment. So when it's gone, you forget how good it was, and like because you can't actually replicate it in your brain because that level of human doesn't actually exist in your brain. And then you hear it again, you're like, this is not real.
It's like hearing it for the first time again.
Every time. It's amazing.
And I mean, they just have such a, obviously, there's no song out there that's for everybody, but like to me, like that arrangement, and there's another one off of We Like It Here. Everybody goes nuts over Lingus, and Corey Henry's keyboard solo on that. It's
great.
Genius.
Totally.
But, there's one called Outlier that I absolutely love. Bob Reynolds, Jacksonville native,
Oh,
DA.
so good, man.
Plays just a brilliant solo on. But like they just throw in these nice little snippets of like that drunk drumming, and all that kind of shit that just I can't get enough of that, man.
Love that
and it's
stuff,
so
man.
tight, and it's just you can just feel just the collective just love for everything that they're doing there, man. And
Totally,
they don't
man.
take themselves too seriously either. You can hear that in the music, but you can also hear just how intense and how serious they are about what they do at the same time.
It's amazing to see that many musicians. They're like just physically that many musicians that are that talented, that all know how to be so restrained, like, that hold that much restraint. Like you listen to a Snarky Puppy song, you don't know if those guys are capable of doing more than that because they do that part so well. Mm-hmm. And like I've transcribed like bass parts on some of that stuff, guitar parts, horn parts, as somebody who's like not trained, because that's how obtainable it all is.
Yep.
But you also know those guys can just do anything, and they do sometimes.
I heard a story, which again, true or not, it's a great story. Bob Reynolds, when he got called to do that album, We Like It Here, all he did was listen to the parts on the plane ride over, and he memorized it all.
I believe that, though. You know, like some people got perfect pitch, and it's just there forever.
He
you know,
was John Mayer's sax player for years, which I think John Mayer was a hot topic last time I was.
No.
Yes. Yeah. John Mayer is always a hot topic in my book. You're gonna love my unpopular opinion today.
Oh,
but we're not there yet.
I can't wait. I've been storing one.
Oh, nice.
All day. Love it. So do you know the song? Excuse me, Binky from Snarky Puppy.
Snarky Puppy?
Pretty sure it's on Family Dinner. It's so.
I promise you, I've heard it. I just
you've heard
can't
it.
recall it off the top of my head.
It's got this really cool like 7 kind of bass line. It's cool. But anyways, there's this part where it kind of drops out to like almost nothing. It's like you can barely just hear like Sput kind of holding it down.
Okay.
And then slowly you start to hear this melody on the synth.
Let me cue this up while you're talking. I'm listening. I want to listen to this on the way home.
Bro, it's like this melody starts to play, and you're just like, is that like the most beautiful melody that's ever been played in the world, in the history of human beings? And then before you know it, like already I can just love it. And then before you know it, the horns start to slowly come behind it, and they are just sitting on this melody for like a solid 3 or 4 minutes. But it keeps building and keeps building. And it inspired me to write something in a similar fashion. That's how like in awe I was. I was like, I have to do that.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, man, it's like, and then it just kind of goes away, and then it breaks for a minute, and then Sput comes in with like this very like broken kind of, it's like, you know, when, I don't know like how to describe it exactly, but you know, like they're giving, it's like a neo soul kind of thing, like when they're
drumming.
Yeah,
is that like the hi-hat and the snare are just
the flamming kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like they're accenting like a part of the triplet,
just slightly behind or slightly ahead of the beat.
Exactly.
Like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And still giving that kind of like, is this a rock groove or is this like a fucking what's happening? You know, like that was the first time I ever heard something like that.
I love that shit.
And I was like,
I don't know if it goes back any further, but to my knowledge, D'Angelo kind of pioneered that in 2000.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt that. Yeah,
D'Angelo, and then like Dilla with his beats and that kind of stuff.
Sure, yeah. Like the whole like that whole neo, like the birth of neo soul, basically. Mm-hmm. I mean, talk about like. Can we talk about Questlove for a second? Because that man is probably the most important person in modern Western music, I would say.
You think you really did that much? I'm not like trying to be an asshole, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, like you like first off of the roots, just I mean alone the talent that brought to the table. But then you're talking like you're talking about Lauryn Hill. You're talking about. Chelsea would kill me right now.
That's all right.
Probably brain farting.
That'd be fine.
Chris, Erykah Badu, Jesus Christ. That's what, yeah. I mean, like everybody coming out of the Northeast at that time in like the hip hop
on everything.
I mean,
that's awesome. I didn't know that.
So the Roots had a jam session going on at their place in Philly, and they would invite people to come through and just be like it'd just be a jam. And then it got to the point where they were starting to get so established that people would go there just to kind of get seen by the Roots. And people were like Erykah Badu came out there with a record deal. You know, people were going there to get that kind of thing. D'Angelo came out of that, they birthed that entire movement. That was all Questlove and the Roots, you know?
That's cool, man.
Not to mention what they did, they moved to England to escape some kind of deal that they had here.
What?
So yeah,
I didn't know
Chris
about
probably
that.
knows more about it than I do. He listened to it on the Broken Record podcast with Rick Rubin. They talk about it. It's fucking hilarious.
Okay.
But yeah, man, I mean, just the game changers across the board, you know?
I mean, I remember when Voodoo dropped, and obviously the video for Untitled, all the ladies went nuts over it and everything. And I was like, okay, it's whatever. He's singing some soulful stuff. And then once I really started getting deeper into, studying the music that I was studying, and then going back and really sitting down and listening to that record, I was like, what the fuck did they do to the quarter note? How did they they just turned this shit inside out and reinvented what the pulse really can be,
Totally.
the way that Pino's ahead, the way that Pino's ahead and Quest is behind, and it creates this elasticity,
man.
to
Yeah,
it, that's just damn, you can't sit still listening to it, man.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Totally, man. It took me a while. I will admit, it took me a while to get into D'Angelo.
Yeah.
Because when I was a kid, that what was that song that came out where he's naked? In front of,
Untitled. Yeah.
Yeah.
How does it feel? Yeah.
So I was in elementary school when that came out, I think, and I was into only the Beatles. That was just the Beatles. That was it for me.
Not
Elvis
a bad
Presley.
place to be in elementary school, man.
And then I heard that and I was like, I don't like this at all. And then as I got older, I started digging more into that stuff, and I was like, holy shit, this is amazing.
It was revolutionary at the time, man.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it either. I was in high school. I just aged myself, but yeah.
That's how it always works, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you never realize the revolution when it's happening, sort of deal.
I'm
Especially
usually
music.
pretty late to the bandwagons, So.
Taylor's walking in at the end of the party. He's like, I just got here, guys.
Have you guys heard of Bruno Mars? Holy shit!
Whoa, yeah, man.
We had to learn that one song for.
Oh no, we had to
Last
just
Leave.
learn two. Was it 24 Karat and then Treasure? No.
Also,
That's
Treasure,
the name of
but
the
also
song.
the funk one.
the
Uptown Funk.
Uptown Funk.
yeah,
I'm
we had
so
to learn
bad
the
with
other one
names
too.
today.
The make me feel like something heaven.
Locked
yeah.
Out of Heaven.
Yeah, Locked Out of Heaven.
I actually I gained a new respect for the songs after that, 'cause it's all about production. I mean, as far as arrangements go, it's pretty straightforward, but just the production value.
He also
in
had
it.
one of the best Super Bowl performances I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah. Well,
I
I know
that.
no one's gonna be Prince. Don't get me wrong, but he fucking just danced his ass off and then had a fucking drum solo. It was really cool.
He checks off all the marks to me, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think especially with Silk Sonic and most of the cuts off of 24 Karat Magic, there's enough harmonic shit going on to make my jazz sensibilities sort of perk up and be like, okay, this is not just pop music, man. This is there's some heavy shit going on behind the scenes here.
Totally.
And there's definitely, obviously, enough pop appeal considering his stacks of Grammys that he's gotten up to this point.
It's a modern day Michael Jackson without the kid diddling,
Grammys,
you know.
man.
Whoops. Anyways, he also did this. What was a show he was in very briefly? He was playing piano in a bar or something, and somebody discovered him, and he just sings it's just an acoustic thing, just him, no microphone, and the piano, and he just nails it.
He's just got that it factor, man.
Yeah, totally.
Short King, he's amazing.
Short King.
Yeah,
King.
he's a short guy. He's a short guy.
Small stature.
Speaking of the Super Bowl
presence.
performance, how
What up?
excited are you about the musicians dissing the Super Bowl show?
Yeah, no, it looks amazing. I mean, I love that they got Kendrick in with all the old school, Snoop and Dre and Mary J. Blige and M.
I just hope it's good, man. You know,
I
what
hope
mean?
so too. I hope so too.
There's a lot of
They've been
talent.
botching it for the past 5 years. Man.
It's just the thing is there's a lot of talent on that stage, and each of those people deserve their own individual spotlight.
That's what they've been doing. They've been just putting as many as they can on the stage, and you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. You're trying to cram too much greatness into one thing, and it just waters down the whole experience, I feel like.
Now, see, last year, I don't know. Maybe I'm alone on this, at least out of the three of us right here. The Weeknd,
So bad.
he made.
Sorry, that was whatever.
I'll let you finish.
No. I was just saying. I was agreeing with you, but I guess we're
No,
not
you weren't.
agreeing.
No, you weren't.
No, I wasn't. I'm sorry.
Man, they made lemonade, right? I feel like they really did, man. With COVID, put on a Super Bowl halftime show the weekend, anybody under the age of 25 obviously knew who he was, but anybody like 30 and above was like, who the fuck is this guy? And I don't know, man. I'm like, I've never done a Super Bowl halftime show before, right?
Not yet.
Not yet. I've never been in that big of a spotlight yet. Maybe one day, but maybe I'm just like a big fucking bleeding heart empath, whatever. It's like, you know what? He fucking did a better job than any of you fucking people making your Facebook posts.
Oh, yeah.
Could
Oh,
have,
totally.
Sure.
Just
Totally.
like shut up, play your bar gigs, and like, yeah, I mean, no offense, I do bar gigs too, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just deal with it. I mean, it's okay to be like, I didn't care for that, but just say that and move on. You don't need to go on a rant about it. Like, fucking go home and practice if you don't like it. Play next year.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry, but that's that. No, I'm not sorry. That's just how I feel about it.
Obviously, like I'm not going to
fucking
play
tell
the
him, bro.
Super
You
Bowl
let him know.
halftime show. But
I don't know which camera I'm pointing at, but
We're just-
pointing
we're
at
just-
somebody.
Yeah, it's
We're
that
just-
one right there. You got the big camcorder. Yeah.
We're just you're comparing it to the other ones.
I'm fucking
You
outta
know what I mean?
Let's fucking cancel this
That's all right.
interview.
I'll talk about jazz for a little bit. There wasn't enough letters when they came up with the word jazz. It was like the bottom of the bag of the Scrabble when they came up with that. Why is it called jazz like that? Why is there two Z's? And then what does
There's
that mean?
varying opinions about that, actually.
I think we got the guy who can tell us right now, actually.
why-
Well,
it's called
one that
jazz.
I heard that I don't know. The one that I remember for whatever reason is it's like slang for orgasm.
No, it's jizz. Pretty sure. Sorry. Are we allowed to say that? All right. Sorry.
I didn't hear a beep. Did
Yeah.
you guys hear a beep? Hang
no.
on, let's try it again.
I'm
Jizz.
sorry. Anyways, going back to the Super Bowl. Yeah, I actually am kind of excited about it. It's gonna be what Eminem, Kendrick Lamar, Dr. Dre,
Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige. Who else? I think
That's all I know.
I think that's all that I'm aware of.
there was another female artist too that's gonna be there. I can't remember who it is now.
Lady Gaga.
No,
Let's bring her back.
She did a good one though. That was a good one.
I didn't watch it. I haven't
did
watched
great.
any
I
of the
think she did a
halftime
good
shows, to be
job.
honest with you. So when you're talking about the weekend, I don't even know what you're talking about right now.
Yeah.
I know who that is, obviously, but I didn't watch
Well,
the...
now you know how I feel the whole damn time we've been talking.
Sorry that you're not
Cool,
well-rounded
not
musician.
cool. Well-rounded. Fucking all right. Well-rounded. Like a deflated beach ball over there, but I think I'm looking good. I think. Oh, I'm not talking about the way you look. Sorry. If anybody
Guy does
needs,
jujitsu, man. I
yeah.
want.
Well, Muay Thai, but jiu-jitsu's close enough.
That's what I said.
No, I'm super stoked about it. Yeah, I can't wait to see what they're gonna do. Big
Yeah,
old
I don't
collab.
know.
They haven't shown like it's just all the commercials that are. It's just a big Pepsi logo, and then it just has the people's names on it. I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. There's no like video promo about it at all. You fucking asshole!
They
I
don't-
can't
they don't-
stand when you do that.
This is how you pour beer.
God,
bro.
it's just-
I took a beer pouring class at the Budweiser Brewery, and this is how you pour beer.
It's just
You
almost like
paid money to have people teach you.
I
how to-
know.
Well, it's the entire,
I know,
it's the entire
right?
tour of the brewery. It's like a whole thing, but like the beer pouring thing is like a part of it. It's a class, and they tell you like why all those bubbles sticking is such a bad thing. That means you have a dirty glass on your hands, Bill. And then
is that's the cup that you just used to drink water out of
Yeah.
that you just touched last?
and then we have
okay, so yeah, definitely dirty then.
all this foam, right here. You actually want that because that takes out all the carbon dioxide, and then or all the carbon, whatever it is. I'm ignorant. And then it just you don't get so much of that.
God, I'm so
that
bored.
bloated
Keep talking.
stuff.
You're lulling me to sleep. I was gonna say it's already in a can for you with
But
a
it has so much-
drinking opening on there, and then now you poured it in a glass, and you got to wait another 10 minutes to drink that before the phone goes
That'll
down.
be good in about.
Otherwise, you're
3
like
minutes.
Dr. Evil and Austin Powers too.
It's about 3 minutes, so we good.
It's called a
Good to go.
Belgian dip.
It's good to go about 3
You're
minutes.
allowed to laugh as much as you want to back there, baby. You
Yeah.
don't have to edit yourself. It's fine.
We love it.
We can start from the beginning if you want us to. You need us to start over?
Let's run this back. Run it back. Take it from the top, boys. Take two. Bottom of the bill. We're not going with the first take on this one.
Hi.
Oh boy.
Anyways, makes it a much more enjoyable drinking
I want
experience.
to knock that out of your hand so bad.
I've been doing Muay Thai for like a year and a half, so I'm pretty sure you don't want to do that. A year and a half, bud.
Does it make you really good at holding classes or something?
It's a good tasting beer right there.
It is a good beer.
Myself in the mouth of the mic. That's what I deserve.
Well,
Anyways. Yeah, I don't know, man. I never got into the halftime shows. It seems to be it's
go
cool.
on YouTube. Just get in a YouTube hole, and Michael Jackson's a crazy one.
Yeah, I'm sure. To me, it's more about the production value, which is cool. I just don't really care that much about the live.
Prince was
production
awesome.
value.
It was like raining. He's like, "Fuck it, we're doing it."
That
anyways.
one, man.
That
That
one's
one
really
took
good.
me out after he passed, man. I looked that one up and I couldn't fucking get through it with like, without
Dry eyes.
Yeah, that was it.
His performance at the George Harrison tribute was pretty unreal for me. That was I didn't realize.
That's what a rock star is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize his level of talent. I was younger, so I didn't really fully understand the scope of him. And I saw him do that, and I was like, "Is this like the best musician that's ever lived, or what?"
It's bittersweet that it sometimes takes a great artist's death for a lot of people to really understand and appreciate the depth and like scope of what they leave behind.
Totally.
For me, it was Bowie. Don't shoot me, shoot Anton. Because I didn't really until after Black Star dropped. I was like, okay. And I mean, it's not. I don't feel bad about that because there's just so much out there since streaming, since iTunes, since Napster. Really, like everything that's ever been recorded is readily available.
Totally.
And nobody, I mean, if we combined all of our lifetimes and multiplied that by 10, we still wouldn't have enough time to listen to a tenth of the music that's out there and available. So I just happened to be somewhere else during those years, in my little jazz bubble, my little jizz bubble.
Oh, that's got a weird image on that one.
Great band name, though.
Jizz bubble.
I love David Bowie so much, and I got him right next to you on the candle, right over there.
Oh, what's up?
Praise be.
Yeah, praise be.
But I was very sad when he died. The craziest thing about that right, was Black Stars. What you said, right? And, like he knew he was going to die, but didn't tell anybody. And that's the whole album is about him knowing that he's going to die. And
Lazarus, man, that one's.
It came out, and then like he knew he was like waiting to release it, and then he died 2 days later.
It came out the day he died, or the day after. Or
Yeah, a day after he died.
did it
He's
on
like I'm gonna exactly. He's like I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die soon. The day after I die, released that record.
Hired a bunch of jazz musicians, by the way.
I'm sure he did.
Well,
his piano player from back in the day, from like when he did Ziggy Stardust and all that stuff. The abstract piano player, that super jazzy guy. Fucking amazing.
he hired a blues musician once and was like, "I'm not doing that again."
He's not doing that either.
He used Stevie Ray on some of the earlier stuff, and it's just like,
Oh, he did?
yeah,
Did he
and-
really?
What?
He did, and it's
On what?
pretty sure Let's Dance.
Oh. You said earlier stuff?
Sorry, I have to. Can we get a fact check on that, Chris? What was he's about to pull it up? He's got.
Oh, because there's like that long guitar solo at the end where it's just all instrumental. That's Stevie Ray?
I'm not 100%, but I know Stevie Ray did play guitar on one of his albums. It might have been, I forget what it is, but it just, it's not appropriate for that music. It's very Stevie Ray.
Yeah.
And I love, don't get me wrong, that was like one of my earliest idols as a guitar player, but it doesn't fit everywhere. And like the glam rock of David Bowie doesn't really lend itself to Texas blues, if you ask me.
Yeah.
There's
time and a place for it.
Let's Dance, right?
No
Yeah.
kidding. That's Stevie Ray playing a guitar?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, you'll go back and listen to it now and realize, oh, that's totally Stevie.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. But what was I gonna say? I'm having so many brain farts tonight. This is unreal.
Don't worry about it.
Well, I'm not super worried about it, but I just felt like I should mention something. It's just a little out of character, so. I can't do the awkward silence, bro. It kills me.
I know. I was just going to make a joke about character, but whatever.
Do it.
Oh, how's that beer 10 minutes later?
Oh, it's probably about 3 minutes later, exactly like I said it was going to be, actually. So
Okay.
it's really good. It's nice and not too carbony, and you really taste all the flavors, all the colors, texture of the IPA, the hazy IPA from Sierra Nevada.
Just makes me sick.
Okay.
It really does.
All right, well, I mean, I don't know about you guys. We can head to Unpopular Opinions, though.
Sure.
Want to do Unpopular Opinions?
Yeah,
Do it.
absolutely.
Fucking rock it, bro. You want to start off, Bill?
Yeah, I'll start off. So I couldn't come up with one until we started talking about the Super Bowl halftime stuff. And I don't know why it made me think. I guess we were talking about hip-hop for just a little bit. And I don't understand what happened with the Coachella Festival and the whole 3D hologram of Tupac, but bring that back for the Super Bowl.
I don't get it.
Put Tupac back.
Oh, put Tupac back in.
No. He doesn't have to be the Super Bowl. I'm just talking in general. Where did that go? Everybody hated it. I loved it. I thought it was amazing, but everybody just thought it was cheesy as hell. And obviously, it was almost like the Hall of Presidents at Disney World situation because he's not dead. Conspiracy theory, but yeah, he is.
If you add it all up, bro.
Yeah, he's dead. But
he's not. He's in Jamaica somewhere hanging out.
Well, good for him.
Yeah, good for him.
Good for him.
He's trying to hide from Suge Knight. I would
still,
too. That's a big boy.
I'm just still.
Still, yeah, that's a big boy.
He played for the Eagles when they were on strike.
That makes sense. When they were on strike, he's like, I'll take that job.
Yeah, he did.
Bro, that dude's 250, 6'3",
yeah,
and just has no fucks to give.
He was playing defensive line for the Eagles in the early 90s or whatever. Anyways,
it's a big boy
for a couple of games. But yeah, that is my unpopular opinion is that I want 3D holograms of shows to come back. Okay. Doesn't have to be dead people. It could be alive people.
Is that unpopular though? Do people not want that?
Yeah, I think it's very unpopular because that one with Tupac came out and everybody was like, "What the fuck? Take that off the. Don't put that on the stage. It looks so cheesy and stupid."
It's a little. I don't know. Maybe not like Tupac. You know what I mean?
Right, and maybe that was what they were talking about.
Maybe not a dead person. That's a little weird. I don't know.
They brought out. I just know because it was also CGI too.
Yeah.
So they did with Michael Jackson one time too.
I remember they had to wonder where to draw the line because at the end of Kendrick's album "To Pimp a Butterfly," that last track, he has this fictional conversation with Tupac where Tupac's voice is all digitally created. I don't know if you guys have heard that album.
Yeah, I have heard the album. Yeah,
I haven't heard that
conversation with him, and it's heavy, man. But it's that's not quite going quite as far as recreating him in a 3D image. But I don't know, man. I missed that whole thing. I wasn't even aware that they did that.
You didn't see it? You can pull it up on YouTube, but it's at
I'll have to look at it. But I'll bet that was met with a pretty wide spectrum of reactions.
Yeah, it was Coachella. It was a Snoop Dogg's show at the end, and then it was them going back and forth talking to him. And it was very, very staged, and it was just very cheesy. It was so cheesy that people were like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, I guess the concept is one thing, but how it's presented is another thing.
Yeah, totally.
It's just like going to see a Disney movie or something like that. But bring it back. Let's do it. It didn't get. It died before it got a chance to get better.
I kind of have a similar thing when they do features after the fact, right? So it's if you think of the Tupac had there was a song that came out on I forget what the album's called, but it was released after he died, and it was One Day at a Time was a song with Eminem and a bunch of other guys from the Outlaws. And it's but Eminem wasn't really an established artist at the time that Tupac was, around. He was just he wouldn't have done a track with Tupac, let's just put it that way.
Right.
And you hear that, I'm pretty sure Eminem did that. It sounds like I'm a huge Eminem fan, so I can tell by his literally just by his phrasing and his voice what era Eminem it was. It sounds like mid 2000s Eminem.
So maybe
early 2000s tops.
So maybe don't bring dead people back.
It's just weird. It's just it's just not. It wasn't their vision, right? So it's Tupac wrote that verse and it was over something, but it wasn't over that.
Yeah.
And it's just you know what I mean.
How did they get the rights to that? I guess they just bought it off the record.
Suge owns all that shit.
Yeah, so he's whatever.
Not Murder Inc. Death Row Records owned all that shit.
Yeah, that's right.
That was the problem with that whole situation is that when Tupac was in jail, Suge bailed him out, but the stipulation was you sign a 3 or 5 record contract with me, and here's the price, and it was super low price for what it was. We're talking a couple $1 million for a 5 record contract. You know what I mean? So that was part of the issue of why I think that Suge killed him, because Tupac was setting himself up to get out of the contract, and that was becoming like a thing. So they that's why I think they should kill them.
Yeah, what is the deal with that? Like, so a record company, they just have the rights to do whatever they want to after you die with your music?
Well, they own the rights to the music.
So that means that they can start, like, if we get real close into AI and stuff, they can be like, we're making new David Bowie records.
If they own the rights to it, yeah.
I'm just saying, like completely new songs.
No, if they don't own the rights, they can't do that.
But the likeness of that person, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, you
can't really own that, or maybe you can't own that. I don't know.
I mean, look at Greta Van Fleet is basically just doing Led Zeppelin. You know what I mean? Is that what you're talking about?
No.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about, like, say, like, maybe 50 years in the future, computers are so great that they can take, like, an algorithm and they can just make a David Bowie song now using old stuff, like a new
Like
David Bowie
storing
stuff.
his entire discography and creating something based
Right.
on
I
all
see
the-
what you're
Like
saying.
they're already.
That's a cool concept.
No, it's not. That's what
No,
I'm
it's
trying
not.
to say. That's
Puts us all
awful.
out of a job, man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think I think most people would go into it knowing what they were getting. I don't think it would put anybody out of a job. I think it's an interesting concept. I don't know. You know, like, I don't know.
But that part of the contract doesn't exist yet.
That's true.
So
yeah.
they're like,
So
we own this record, and then like, also when you die 100 years later, then we get to write new music
Right,
with your entire.
right.
With your name,
Yeah.
your likeness.
Yeah. Well, if the estate's on top of it, then the estate will keep updating the terms as they go.
That's
Right.
up to states' rights, I guess. But
No, the estate.
what?
The estate.
Oh, okay.
The people that own the music after
I'm
you
just
die.
messing. Come on.
Yeah. We had a whole conversation about this last night. So I had to bring it up.
All right. What's your unpopular opinion, Tony?
Well, I think I'm going to stick on this. I had a different one, but I'm going to stick with this trend. I think the Biggie versus Tupac argument is bullshit.
Okay.
And not to say that there isn't an argument to be made for a comparison. You can just walk on through. It's a very low budget podcast. You don't have to hide or anything.
You're drawing more attention by
You're behind the cameras as well. Like, so that's what I'm laughing
good,
about.
yeah.
I'm like, is there a camera back there we don't know about?
So good. I love it. Yeah, so I think the Biggie versus Tupac argument is bullshit. There is an argument to be had about different issues that were going on with Tupac and other rappers, but not Biggie.
I'm confused. Like, what are you trying to say? What do you mean it's bullshit?
I don't think it's a fair comparison.
Oh, you mean because they're so different?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always thought that was weird too, though, because just like listen to Biggie and he just flows and he's just like cool the whole time, and then Tupac's just preaching at you very angrily.
Yeah.
Just screaming at you the whole
that
time.
video that you sent me, the TikTok video.
I can't remember the name of the song.
Hit him up.
Yeah, hit him up, and it was the backup vocalist, just waiting, and they're just screaming at him.
Yeah. What's he so mad?
I can't think of the lyrics or anything like that, but that was hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a fair comparison. Like, if what Biggie's doing is a different kind of thing. His flow is completely different. Like the beats that he's rapping over are completely different.
They were just
the
in the same
content
time.
is
That's
completely
about
different.
it.
Well, they had like a beef with each other. That's why the
Yeah?
comparison is there.
I didn't know
And then
that.
became like West Coast.
Sorry.
And then
Okay, man.
Right.
You're good.
you can't apologize for being you, Bill.
I'm
You know?
sorry
Never
for. I know I am.
apologize.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry
Nobody's a
about the
better
way
you
that
than
I
you.
am.
So and it stemmed the whole East Coast West Coast thing, and out of that, here's what I will say is that there was a beef with Nas and Tupac, which got a lot less publicized. Now that is a much more fair comparison.
Okay.
That's my unpopular opinion.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, that's like the biggest beef of all time is Biggie versus Tupac.
Yeah.
Like that they were shooting at each other. And
Well, I don't know how much of that was true, but we don't know. Nobody really does. But I just think that you can pick a side and who you like more. I guess whoever speaks to you more. But at the end of the day, it's not a fair comparison.
one of them speaks to you, and the other one
yells at
angrily yells at you.
you.
The lyrics are great.
Yeah.
Just he's not speaking.
Yeah, he's not speaking. I have a soft spot in my heart for Tupac. When I was in high school, that was like my thing. Like that was like him and Eminem were like the two voices.
Also kind of yelling at you.
No, Eminem's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
You know, it's a whole different thing. But those are the two. That's what really got me into like hip hop, and I went down the rabbit hole after that. But like those were the two people that I really were like, oh my god, like these guys are amazing. Biggie just didn't hit me in that way, but I also understand that they're completely different, right? If you want to make the comparison, Nas and Tupac would be a better comparison because the content is so similar. It's both very politically driven, and there's a preacher element to it. If you, in that scenario, what I would say is that Nas was definitely a more talented lyricist overall. I don't know.
Okay.
You know,
Unpopular.
are you guys familiar? You're not familiar with Nas at all, but are you familiar?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Illmatic record was like a game changer. I mean, for a conscious hip hop artist like that to get put on the pop scale, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't something that was happening. It still doesn't.
Admittedly, I'm not as familiar with them as you are.
Okay.
But I'm definitely aware of them, and I'd be able to pick them out amongst, with the blindfold test, I think. So
Totally, yeah. He's got such a unique voice, you know. But yeah, I don't know. It was just both like that would be a more fair comparison, and in that comparison, I think Nas definitely takes that one.
Yeah, it's definitely unpopular.
Yeah.
It's definitely Tupac Biggie all day. That's like they've like write songs about it.
I know it just doesn't make any sense, man.
All right,
I don't know. That's my unpopular opinion.
you want to bring it home, bub?
sure.
All right.
I see a lot of this happening, and I have been guilty of it myself, but I was a teenager at the time, so there's really no accounting. But I see grown adults do this to this day, and it's a very simple concept that I see running rampant among the music community, and it's musicians hating on other musicians.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But fuck
And
John
most
Mayer.
of the time...
I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
Sorry, what'd you say?
Nothing.
He said, "But fuck John Mayer."
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Maybe this is just me talking about me and where I was at the time when I took that approach, where I would just be like, "Fuck John Mayer," because that was my initial reaction when he started to blow up. I was like, "Who's this pretty boy with an acoustic guitar?" And everybody's saying he's amazing or whatever. And then I saw him on Austin City Limits, and I was like, "Fuck me and my guitar playing. This guy's amazing."
Yeah.
So, but most of the time, I just think it's just a bunch of jealous people who are insecure about themselves and wish they were them, or at least at a further point in their career. And what I mean by that is like people hating on that. I mean, I'm just going to be real. We're here on a podcast. It's a place to be real.
Be real, bro.
People hating on the halftime shows. You know, it's like, when was your last halftime show, bro?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that, and that may be like a really simplified way to put it, but or maybe like a really like simplistic, like idealistic kind of comeback or whatever. But it's like, you know what? How's your career going? You know, I'm sure. I seriously doubt Bruno Mars is crying himself to sleep over your fucking Facebook post.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like no one gives a fuck about your opinion.
Seriously, man. And you're just like, how are you advancing your career? Unless it's like a publicity thing or if it's like a beef like Brandy and Monica, you know? I mean, everybody knows The Boy Is Mine, you know? Everybody knows that song, you know, because of their beef or whatever. And that was like that catapulted both of their careers and, you know, everybody involved with that song. But like, just hating for the sake of hating, it's like, fucking get over yourself. Go home and practice, man.
Well, everyone wants the hot take, right? That's the thing. It's that we live in the age of hot takes.
I guess.
You get the hot take and like you get all the attention and it's the whole thing. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, I agree with you 100%. I think that people need to stop hating. I think as musicians, we can't help but have an opinion.
Absolutely.
When
No,
we see
and-
things, you know.
And I'm not sorry to talk over you, man, but
No,
I
not at
mean,
all.
you know, definitely say like, I mean, there's music that I don't care for, and I'll say that, but I'll say that and then move on with my life, you
Right.
know, and not fucking harp on this shit and not
Totally.
try and convince other people that these people suck or whatever. It's like, not up to me, you know, it's not up to me. I'm not going to change anybody's mind about art.
Right.
You know, something that's fucking subjective. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
come on, man.
Not to mention, it's like when you get to that level of like playing the halftime show, there's like being an artist is so much more than just being a performer, you know?
Oh, yeah.
There's an entire like vision that has to become realized, right? and that's like building your team and your network of people and like seeing the vision, the business and the whole thing, right? Like all of that, at the end of the day, like you have the last word on all of it, right? And so yeah, if you have a bad night, or if you have like, we're talking like every single night is a $1 million production with hundreds, if not thousands of people depending on you for that thing to go off without a hitch. Like if you have a bad night, it's okay. And musicians that hate on it, it's just because you don't get it.
And that's it, you know. I mean, people who are raised watching Mariah Carey videos expect a Mariah Carey video every time. Like, I think she did a Rockin' New Year's Eve one year, and there was some kind of snafu with the sound, and everybody just fucking piled on her and went in on her. It's like, you know what, man? Like, this is 20 years after whatever Fantasy came out, and everybody's expecting, you know, Jermaine Dupri production, you know,
right.
But this is a live TV production where if one out of a million things goes wrong, the whole thing could fold. And it just so happened, wasn't her fault, you know, some shit went wrong and now it's all her fault. And you know, I can't adjust my expectations of what I listened to and watched on MTV when I was 13. And so let me just hate on her.
It goes to show how little even musicians value the art of music and the profession of being an artist, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you have changed your entire scope or your opinion of this person based off this one performance, you actually have no respect for the grind or for the profession as a whole.
No.
You know, that's just what it is.
Man, if my like 15 minutes of fame, if my halftime performance was based off of one of my bad nights, where, like, because I've had nights where, you know, whatever, thankfully it wasn't a high profile thing, but I ate dog shit, you know, and like I wasn't playing, you know, anywhere near where like half what I know my ability is. If that was like my moment of fame, like shit, man, I can't imagine what that would do to me. You know?
I can tell you what it'll do to you because I've had that happen to me before.
Okay.
Not like at a halftime show level.
Right.
But like where you're like but you're like in a scenario where the stakes are real, right? And you just fucking bomb and you're like, well, this is the worst feeling ever, right? Because you know that as the artist, like you know that. Like you know that they're seeing you for the first time and this is what they're gonna take away. And they will never come back again because of that experience.
As the artist, you know that more than anybody else. More
exactly.
painfully aware of that than anybody. Shit, man.
Exactly.
But that had to be pretty formative, huh? There had to be a positive that you took away from that.
Yeah, just don't fuck up like that. You know, I mean, like, but that doesn't
do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that again.
Don't do that again.
Oh, man.
You know, but it's hard, man. You know, there's a lot of things that come into play, but I can sympathize with the performance anxiety aspect is real too. You know,
Absolutely.
And on top of the pressure of having that many people rely on you for their income just per night, like we're talking like different people every single night, right? But then there's the cameras and there's the amount of people that are just watching you in that moment. And they're expecting a perfect performance. They're especially in the pop realm, where they're not trying. They don't want any deviation from what they've heard on the radio.
No, they want a polished, absolute representation of what they hear.
That is
listen to over and over.
Unfair expectation to be held to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I get it. You know, like I don't hate on people for having. I try not to hate on people for having a bad night. We're all human. We have our flaws, right? Like I still to this day, and I'll say it on here, that I thought Jamiroquai's set at Halloween was god awful. Okay, but again, like I'm sure Jamiroquai like was just having a bad night and just happened to be at the festival that we were at. You know, but it's just like, you know, I don't know. It doesn't bar me from listening to them again, though.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'd definitely go see a show again for sure.
It's a bad dude.
But doesn't that whole situation make the ability for it to be so great? I mean, is that chance of absolute failure and criticism? Like, otherwise, like, no offense, I'm not trying to be elitist, but then anybody could just do it and it wouldn't matter.
Of course, yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to argue up any means that we shouldn't be like, yeah, fuck that band. I'll never listen to it. And like you said, try to convince people that it was awful and everything like that and hold that grudge or whatever and not ever listen to it again. But if that didn't exist, then I feel like then the other part, like yin yang sort of situation.
I guess that's true. Yeah. I mean, like you kind of need that level of hate in order for the level of greatness to be that great.
And that sounds elitist for sure. But I literally just, otherwise, because it's not, I don't ever want to think of music as like a competition because then you just get into American Idol and that's just the worst. But I do kind of see it as like, yeah, it is like, hey, this is the fucking, you're in the show now. You're in the limelight.
Yeah.
This is your chance to be awesome. Or you could, the risk is way higher.
Right. But there has to be some kind of tolerance for the margin of error.
Where's the line though? You know what I mean?
Well, there's a margin of error, right?
Yeah. Okay, for example, like everybody lost their shit when Red Hot Chili Peppers played for the halftime show, and they weren't even plugged in, and then people were like losing their mind, like they weren't even plugged in. I'm like, yeah, like we fucking got you. What's up?
Again, it's also like, hey guys, these are tube amplifiers, and these are cables, and these are very malleable things.
Yeah.
And this is a multi-million-dollar production that you all want to see go off without a hitch. So we're not taking any risks. They're not plugging in.
Yeah.
We're playing. We're overdubbing.
You know what?
That's what happens.
That was Bruno's set, right? Where they joined.
That's right. Yeah. I also learned a little while ago that like super famous a video of Whitney Houston singing the national anthem for the Super Bowl. Lip synced.
Oh,
100%. You can Google that. That sucked.
Well, I mean,
or does it suck?
We can keep moving. I didn't hear that. We can.
It's true. Every time I'd watch that, I'm like, damn, goddamn America.
I'm gonna live the rest of my life.
It's lip synced. It's lip synced. You can Google it.
No, I can't unhear that.
I know.
Be a really good juror.
Yeah.
She does a really good job of listening, though. And it's obviously her singing. It's just a recording, so.
Yeah, I mean.
Does that make it bad? I don't know.
Well, no, there's again, like as an artist, I think that we can take that into consideration, right? Like for the back end of it. But as a fan, you don't want to hear that. That ruins the whole thing.
I wish I never heard it either. But sorry, boys.
Is it true though, or is it just one of those facts? Can
you fact check that real quick?
Please don't.
Taylor's convinced that it's real. Doesn't want to hear it.
You know how I found out? I don't know. I got on some YouTube rabbit hole of looking up like famous.
Those are always pretty accurate.
Yeah. Well, of course. But it was like,
don't even bother looking it up. He saw it on YouTube.
It was just like the biggest lip singers of all time, like the biggest ones, and you're like, oh no, not that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Britney.
Yeah, not Britney.
Well. I don't know. I understand the pressure and the need to do things sometimes that aren't going to be totally acceptable for the general population,
I just have a really good band name to wrap this whole up. Britney Houston.
Are they doing Whitney Houston interpretations of Britney songs?
It's black metal from Norway.
I want to dance with some baby one more time.
Britney Houston. No, that sounds like a yeah. That's good. Oh, you can do matchups for sure. Yeah. But no, that you'd be like, oh my god, is this gonna be like Britney Spears and Whitney Houston? No,
this is gonna be jazz.
Yeah.
Jazz, yeah.
Instrumental jazz, no vocals whatsoever.
That's how we round the whole
dancing.
thing out.
That's you play it during compilation of hockey fights on YouTube. That kind of music.
Taylor, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks
for having me.
Round 2, man.
Yeah,
thanks
absolutely. Thanks for tuning in to the bottom of the bill. Make sure you check out Taylor's new record, Live at the Blue Jay, and the Taylor Roberts Quintet that you have coming out. When's that coming out? Do you know yet?
Sometime after today. Absolutely after you listen to this, or it may have, depending on when you listen to this, it may be out. But the release date will be announced in the future.
What's your Indiegogo handle thing again?
So if you go to my website, tr7guitar.com, we will have a link to the Indiegogo campaign up, and just trying to raise funds to get it mixed and mastered.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, well, check that out. Support local artists, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Adios, muchachos.
Peace.